Hey guys, this is Mr. H. Hey, I wanted to go over the August 2024 Regents exam. Um, I have kind of looked at it and I wanted to kind of give you my breakdown on some of the questions and basically some of the things you should be doing. But I wanted to start with this. Um, every Regents exam or math Regents exam is going to have this block at the bottom of the exam. And it says that every student who takes the Algebra 1 Regents exam, or actually any math Regents exam, they are supposed to have a graphing calculator. So I circled this because if you realize how powerful your graphing calculator is, it's a way to easily pass the Regents exam. It's a way to easily check your work to make sure you get the highest score possible. So I just wanted to show you guys some of the ways that you should be looking at the exam. So let me go to my next slide. All right, here are my ideas. I should say Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, but I'm going to focus right now on Algebra 1. I think if I have time, I'm going to do a video on Algebra 2 because I want y'all to see that as well. Because we have a graphing calculator, you should be looking to make graphs, look at tables as often as you can. Anytime you see a function, you should say, oh, I can graph that. F of x, g of x, s of t, any of that. Any function you should be graphing, all right? Anytime you see an equation, doesn't matter if it's quadratic, linear, exponential, you should say, oh, I can graph that and I can solve it. Anytime you see the words, especially in the multiple choice section, equivalent expressions, that just means it's an equation and you can graph it and find your answer. Number 4, I said inequations or basically inequalities. Anytime you see inequalities, those are you should also be thinking about graphing. And then there's a couple other opportunities here or there that you can also graph. But this is how I am teaching my students. What I want them to do is the very first thing they do after they've signed their name on the test booklet and they open it, I don't want them to try to answer any question. What I want them to do is go through, look for every function, every equation, every equivalent expression, every inequality, and I want them to put a G beside it. So watch, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So now, here's the next example. This is page 1. All right, this one, even though it doesn't say equivalent, they're saying which one of these answers is equivalent if you factor it. So I'm going to put a G beside this because you can graph it. This one, it says equivalent to, I can put a G beside it because I'm going to graph it. I'm going to make those functions, I'm going to graph them. These are a bunch of equations. You see equal signs, so you can graph it. Now, it may not give you the answer, but it's definitely going to allow you to get rid of some answer choices, okay? Number 5 is not 1. Number 6 is not 1. Number 7 is not 1. Number 8 is definitely 1. It's giving you equations, so you can graph it, find the solutions, and find out which one matches. This is a box plot, no graph here. The number 10, it's finding the average rate of change, no graph here, so keep it moving. Number 11, it's got some functions. They want you to look for transformations, you definitely graph them. Number 12, it gives you a function and they want to know what the slope, what the y-intercept means. Now the graph isn't going to really help you. You just have to be able to interpret what the y-intercept means. But still, in general, it's a good practice to graph functions. Next one, we got inequality, and they want us to solve it. So you can definitely graph that. 14 is the two-way table. We can't graph. We can graph it if we set up an equation, but you don't necessarily need to set up an equation for that. Number 15. Nope. Number 16, absolutely. We have two graphs, two functions. We graph them, we find where they intersect. That's what the solutions are. That's the easy one. This one's a little tricky, but you can graph it. And I will show you how to do that in another video. Excuse me. Number 18. 18, they've given you a bunch of equations. You can definitely graph it, see which one has a slope of 2, and goes to that point. Number 19, they want the common ratio, so no graph here. Number 20, definitely, you can graph this, got an equal sign, definitely. Number 21, excuse me, has a bunch of equal signs, so you can definitely graph that. This one says equivalent to. Now, normally you would be able to graph this, but it has two different variables. It has an A and a B. So an easier thing to do for this one is to store, and I'll talk about that. Store numbers for A and B, and then find the one that matches. We can't really graph this one because it has two variables, and it's just kind of weird. Number 23, nope. Number 24, nope. Number 25, absolutely. It's just a graph. They're telling you graph it. So definitely should have a G here. This one is a function. They give us an input, so you can graph it, look at the table, find the output. Nope. This one, absolutely. You can make these into two functions and find where they intersect. Boom. This one, quadratic. Now, normally, since it has an equal sign, let me bring this down a little bit so we can see it a little better. All right. Definitely because it has an equal sign, you should be able to graph that. But in this case, they want the exact roots. So that means they don't want decimals. So if you graph this, it's going to give you the solution as a decimal. So it's not going to be the exact right answer, but you can graph it to check. Or if you don't know how to put it in, leave it as a fraction, you will still get some credit if you are able to come up with the solutions with the rounded decimals. All right, let's keep going. Number 30. Now this one, this is just a expression, but you can make it into a function, and then you can graph it, and the graph is going to help you factor it. So even though this doesn't say factor, even though this doesn't say, or it doesn't say equivalent, it doesn't have an equal sign, it doesn't have a function, you can make it into a function, and once you made it into a function, you can graph it. All right, so this is definitely a G. And then let's go, this one, oh, that's the same one, I had two copies. This one, no, we have to come up with the equation, so we have to use a spreadsheet. Graphing is not gonna help us on this one. This one, all right, we have a system of inequalities. We definitely have to graph this, and it's telling us to graph. Let's see here, and now we've got a quadratic function, quadratic, so we can graph that, and that's gonna help us find the vertex. And it's also going to help us find where the object hits the ground. All right, this one is a system of, a quadratic linear system. Definitely is graphable to find the solution. Now, they want you to do it algebraically. So if you graph it, you're only going to get 1 point. But if you're in a pinch, get the point, but you can graph it. This one, we have to come up with equations, two linear equations. But once we come up with those equations, we can graph it. So let's go back and count this. I want you to see how many opportunities there are. Let's see, start at the beginning. I'm going to count them up. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So far, 10 questions that we can answer by graphing. 11, 12. Now this one won't work, so I have to skip that one. 13, 14.
Attention staff,
15.
Attention staff. Food has been delivered to the staff room.
All right, so let me jump back in. That was an announcement made over the intercom, so I wanted to stop. All right, so this is 15. Let's see what else we got. 16 here. We have 17 here. We have 18 here. We have 19 here. We have 20 here. We have 21 here. So look, we have 35 questions And 20 of them, 21 of them, you can use your graphing calculator and just graph it and look for answers. So what is that? 3/5. So that's 60% of the exam. 60% of the exam, you can use your graphing calculator to just graph, and it'll help you find the answer. So that's the key idea for this. And it's the same thing for Algebra 2. It's the same thing. So if you are in tune, there's a lot of opportunities to get questions that you might not understand or get on your own, or it's also a way to check your work so that you don't make careless mistakes. All right, I'm going to stop and I'm going to upload this.